And look at this line, we're having a big celebration of imagination here today.
It's the end of an era for comic book fans around the world. Jim Shooter, the bold, brilliant, and often controversial editor-in-chief who took Marvel Comics to unimaginable heights in the 1980s, has passed away at the age of 73. His legacy is etched in ink and legend. Shooter didn't just edit comics, he shook the very foundation of the industry. He was a teenage prodigy, a ruthless editor, a passionate protector of creators, and the man behind some of Marvel's most iconic stories. But with greatness came drama, and Jim Shooter had plenty of both. So what really happened behind the scenes at Marvel during its most explosive decade? And how did one man become both a savior and a villain in the eyes of fans and creators alike? Let's unravel the untold story of Jim Shooter, the titan who ruled Marvel like a king and left behind a legacy that changed comic books forever. Jim Shooter was not your typical comic book creator. At just 14 years old, he submitted scripts to DC Comics and got published, a feat that still stuns fans to this day. He breathed life into Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes, adding an authentic teenage voice to a world of young heroes. By the time he hit his 30s, Shooter had already lived a full comic book career, but his biggest role was still to come. In 1976, he joined Marvel as an assistant editor and writer. At the time, Marvel was a creative volcano, bursting with talent but suffering from missed deadlines, low sales, and leadership confusion after Stan Lee had stepped away from daily operations. In January 1978, Shooter was named Marvel's 9th editor-in-chief. What came next would shake the comic book world. Shooter wasted no time. With a no-nonsense attitude, he brought strict editorial discipline to the House of Ideas. Love him or hate him, he made Marvel efficient again, enforcing deadlines, streamlining production, and pushing creators to think bigger and bolder. Under his rule, Marvel didn't just survive, it thrived. He championed long, interconnected storytelling, a universe where everything mattered. Shooter gave us Chris Claremont and John Byrne's legendary run on X-Men, brought Frank Miller to the forefront with Daredevil, supported Bill Sienkiewicz's boundary-pushing art on New Mutants, and introduced annual crossover events that set the stage for every cinematic universe to come. He also pioneered the idea of original graphic novels and trade collections, which brought comics into bookstores and onto shelves next to real literature. But the price of success? Controversy. To some creators, Shooter was a savior, a visionary who gave them the tools and discipline to create their best work. To others, he was a tyrant, imposing his vision and bulldozing creative freedom. One of the most infamous battles, the death of Jean Grey, aka Phoenix, in X-Men. Shooter insisted the character had to die to pay for her crimes, even when Claremont and Byrne objected. That decision divided fans and creators alike, but it also created one of the most iconic storylines in comic book history. Bill Sienkiewicz's said it best. He really polarized people, but it was because he had a passion for what he was doing. He went to bat for freelancers in a way you don't see many people in editorial roles do today. Behind the scenes, Shooter wasn't just fighting deadlines, he was fighting corporate politics. In 1987, after Marvel was bought by New World Pictures, Shooter was ousted. Many say it was because he pushed too hard for editorial independence and fair pay for creators. That same passion that built Marvel's empire may have gotten him fired. But Shooter didn't fade away. He launched Valiant Comics, another powerhouse that produced fan favorites like Bloodshot and Harbinger. Once again, he built a universe. And once again, he clashed with leadership. He was fired from Valiant in 1992. Still, he didn't stop. He founded Defiant Comics, Broadway Comics, and worked with Acclaim Comics. Though none survived the 1990s, Shooter remained a constant figure in the world he helped shape. Danny Fingeroth, another Marvel veteran, put it simply, Jim was complicated. Without him, and Frank Miller, Marvel might not have survived the 1980s. Paul Levitz, former DC president, recalled their years of competition and collaboration. We competed, watched each other, learned from each other, and occasionally conspired to help creators in need. Even in his later years, Shooter remained vocal, offering commentary on his blog, attending conventions, and engaging with fans who remembered the Marvel glory days. Jim Shooter's death closes a chapter on one of the most transformative eras in comic book history. His impact can still be felt today, in the rise of cinematic universes, in the importance of creator rights, in the very structure of how comics are told and sold. He wasn't always loved, but he was always relevant. Today, Marvel and DC are multimedia empires, but in the 1980s, they were battlegrounds. And Shooter? He was a general, leading the charge. Shooter's path mirrors that of other controversial icons, like Steve Jobs, who was fired from his own company only to return and change the world. Like Jobs, Shooter clashed with colleagues, but his vision couldn't be denied. He wasn't Stan Lee's showman or Jack Kirby's artist. He was the architect behind the curtain. Without him, the foundation might have crumbled. Jim Shooter was a paradox, a brilliant storyteller and a rigid editor, a champion of creators and a source of conflict, a teenage prodigy who became an industry titan. His loss is felt deeply in the world of comics, not just for what he created, but for the standards he set and the battles he fought. He wasn't perfect, but he was essential. Now, we want to hear from you. What's your favorite Marvel storyline from the Shooter era? And do you think his strict editorial style helped or hurt the comics we love today? Let's talk in the comments.
Subscribe for more interesting videos and hit the like button.